Hi folks, the Filipinapea here, and as promised, I'm here with my good old friend, Attorney Gracey. Welcome back.
Thanks, V. Thanks for having me here in flesh now.
I know, you've been very busy and you've been traveling a lot, and the last time we spoke, it's via video chat.
Correct, yes.
So folks, aside from celebrating Gracey's return, we're going to be talking about important laws that you need to know. So, stay tuned. Alright, Gracey, welcome back to my studio. Cheers!
Cheers!
Well, the last time we had wine, we were using cups.
Cups. I remember that one.
Now I upgraded.
Chilled red wine in a cup. That's what we had.
Yeah, but at least I upgraded. I bought the proper glass. Okay, so the first thing we have to talk about, Gracey, is this law. I was so surprised because knowing we Filipinos, we're very family-oriented. We always wanted to give back to the family.
Correct.
But I heard that there's a specific law that we need to support our parents.
So basically, the cultural thing supporting our parents is something enshrined in our civil code.
Right.
Yeah. Specifically, Article 195 of our civil code. Article 195 enumerates the people who are obliged to support each other.
Okay.
One of which is the parents and their legitimate children and the legitimate children of those children. Basically, parents and children has to support each other. It's a mutual obligation.
Okay.
So if you see it the way that when the parents are at the time of their lives that they need the support from their children who are already at the time of their lives capable to provide support, then the parents can invoke support from their children.
Okay, so if you're a working adult now and your parents say, hey, you need to support us back because we need this amount of money every month, if I refuse to give that to them, will I be sued? Well, can my parents sue me for that?
The answer for that one is yes. Your parents can file a case for support in court invoking this provision of our laws.
Do they know that there's a law like
I don't know.
Is it known? I mean, well, ignorance.
Now they know.
Yeah, okay.
Your parents now knows about it.
Yeah, I'll be in trouble. So really, it is a law. So
it is part of our civil code. So it's part of our laws.
Okay.
So basic laws. So under our civil code, 195 enumerates those people who are obliged to support each other, and 194, Article 194, define what supports, what the term support means.
Okay.
So basically, the term support comprises everything indispensable for sustenance, for dwelling, for clothing, for medical attendance, education, transportation, and everything else in keeping with the financial capacity of the family.
How can they determine how much I should give back to my parents?
First of all, it would depend on the needs of your parents.
Oh, okay.
And second, it would also depend on your capacity to provide, at what certain level you can provide the support.
Who decides? The judge?
Basically, if it's not being agreed by the parties, not being agreed by you and your parents, then if it goes to court, then the judge can decide for you.
Okay, this amount of money.
Yeah.
P, you have to, oh my.
And please take note, it's not limited only to parents. It's brothers and sisters are also covered under this provision.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah, actually it is. Like, in number 5 in the enumeration of those who are obliged to support covers legitimate brothers and sisters, whether of full blood or half blood.
Oh, okay.
So this is with respect usually with education.
With education?
Education.
So, wait. So my brothers can ask support from me for their education?
Correct, yes.
And I'm obliged, why?
If you have the capacity to provide to support their obligation, then yes, you can be compelled by the court to provide that thing to them. Because it is considered, education here is considered indispensable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there's actually a law that you have to give support to your family. And not only your parents, also your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Okay. So only the things that they need, right?
Yeah. those are those things that are indispensable in their lives.
So what about if the Filipina is married to a foreigner? Obviously, her capacity to support increases. So what happens now? Is the foreigner also liable to support the family? Or, combined with their, net worth?
Well, for a simple answer, it's going to be yes. But as to the amount of support, it all depends on the financial capacity of the Filipina.
Oh.
So the financial capacity is determined on the property relations or property regime they have as a couple, as a married couple. So that's where the prenup agreement comes into place. If there's no prenup agreement, so we all know, or we've been discussing this in the past, that the properties becomes absolute community, meaning it all becomes conjugal assets. Whatever you've had prior to marriage or during your marriage, then the Filipina owns 50% of which. And that becomes the net worth of the Filipina, which can be the basis for the court to determine the capacity of the Filipina to provide support to her parents. So it's different when we have a prenup, right? And with the prenup, most prenups I've come across, I've drafted for clients, is that all properties prior to marriage remains in a separate property of the foreigner. So in that case, the Filipina actually don't have any significant increase in its assets or its financial capacity. Maybe when the foreigners give some amount of allowance or something to the Filipina, that's the only amount, the increase of her assets or her financial capacity, that's the only amount going to be considered by the court in determining the amount of support to be provided to the parents.
And again, they can only request something that they need. They cannot ask like, oh, honey, since you married a foreigner, can you please send us to an Alaskan cruise?
No.
Or go to Havana?
Well, our provision specifically mentions indispensable.
Okay, indispensable.
So going to an Alaskan cruise is not indispensable, it's dispensable.
Okay, gotcha. So at least something to, to sustain their living situation. With a Filipina married to a foreigner, guys, you have to brace yourselves. You have to consider that marrying a Filipina, now that we know that it's actually a law that you have to support. The Filipina has to support.
Yeah, and for most Filipinas or for most Filipinos, I don't think they're quite aware of this provision.
I know,
it's just culturally enshrined with us that we have this moral obligation to give back to our parents. It's a gratitude for them to give back to the things that they are enjoying, sharing it to their family, because I always believe that if you do good things, you get good karma as well. So,
I should be getting a lot of that later, but
hey, you're enjoying it. Don't deny that thing that you're enjoying the good karma.
Oh my gosh, Mom! Please don't watch this video.
That's why you're speaking in English. Your mother can't understand. I hope so.
I sure hope so. And brothers, don't you dare do the translation. Before marrying a Filipino, obviously you have to have the talk. The financial obligation of the Filipina back to her family, and also how it's going to be once they're together. So we've discussed prenups before.
Yeah.
And the Philippines, we don't have divorce. How does a prenup work here in the Philippines?
Even if we don't have divorce, but we still have the same effect as divorce, which is declaration of nullity and annulment of marriage.
Right.
And prenup is very significant with respect to termination of marriage, because it's what governs how assets are to be distributed and liquidated or shared by the spouses. So if there is no prenup at all, then basically you share 50-50. Whatever the guy has, whatever the woman has, they share 50-50.
Right.
But with the prenup, in most cases, assets generated prior to the marriage, because it continues to be the separate property of one of the spouses, and eventually their marriage didn't work and has to be terminated by way of divorce or by way of annulment of marriage, then the properties will have to be distributed according to what it is in the prenup. So the separate property will continue to be the property of the owning spouse.
Okay.
So the other spouse cannot invoke any right or have any interest on those properties.
Basically, the prenup can safeguard the assets prior to marriage for both parties. It doesn't mean to say that you're not gonna get anything after, because it depends on how the prenup was drawn, right?
Correct. Yes.
The clause,
distribution of properties are agreed by the parties.
That should be part of the protocol, like before getting married, right? I know it's not a law here to have a prenup.
It's still not a norm among Filipinos.
I know.
It's still frowned upon by most families, especially Filipino families. But I also understand why foreigners would really ask for a prenup, because again, when they come to the Philippines and they meet Filipinas, and sometimes Filipinos are so nice in the first place, and then they're so romantic in their honeymoon stage of their relationship, and then eventually they change, especially if you see some Filipinas who, you know, you're just looking for foreigners to hook up to support them, and you cannot disregard this percentage of Filipinos who are doing that to survive, right? So for the foreigners, since there's no assurance for them if they've really had a good Filipina that will stay with them no matter what.
Exactly.
So they provide certain protection for themselves, because they cannot just, because they're already in the later stage of their lives, and they cannot gather again this much asset to sustain them. Yeah. Right? So
they're already like, you know, in that stage of life that they want to just relax, have a good life. This is like their last chance
to enjoy life.
To enjoy life. And you cannot blame the guys for protecting their assets. So for any Filipinos who are watching this video, I know we were brought up in thinking that once you sign a prenup, you get nothing because your spouse is, you know, someone who's rich and they just want to protect their assets. They just want to protect their money. But they can customize the prenup, right? In every situation.
Yeah,
they cannot just, it doesn't mean to say that the Filipina cannot get anything.
I have some clients who have provisions on their prenup, and the support or the amount the Filipina would get depends on the number of years she stayed married to her husband. Let's say for a period of 5 years, when they're still married for a period of 5 years, then the Filipina gets certain amount of money. For a period of 10 years, there's certain bigger amount of money, and so on and so forth.
I think I know that. I think I know that client, because I have a friend who's a foreigner here in Dumaguete. He said that his prenup is structured this way. So he's married now with the Filipina, and then he's in the clause. He said that if you stayed married to me for 5 years, you'll get 10% of everything I own. And if you stay married to me up to 10 years, you'll get 30% of this everything. And then when I die and you're still married to me, obviously happily, and then he dies in his, you know, dies a happy man, then she gets everything. So whatever, you can customize your prenups.
Yeah.
What are the cases that the judge would just overturn it, or will they always honor?
Basically, any agreement in the Philippines, especially with prenups, as long as they are validly executed and parties are aware of what they're signing, they're not coerced into entering into such agreement.
Okay.
There's no undue influence. That's why it's very important, like, in the preparation of prenup that I usually do, I always make sure that the other party is represented by independent lawyer, or there is a certificate of independent legal advice. There should be
like two, like one for the guy, one for the woman.
Because so that when the other party questions the validity of prenup, they cannot invoke anymore.
Oh, I didn't know.
They cannot invoke anymore. That kind of defense.
Yeah, again, that's one thing you have to discuss with your Filipina before proposing, you know, marriage, or, you know, get to know
and get. Yeah, true. And don't ask your lawyer to try to convince your Filipina to execute a prenup. That's not part of our job.
That's not part of your job.
I've come across some clients who's had problem with Filipina signing a prenup, and they asked me, can you talk to her or something? She can secure another lawyer to explain to her.
Yeah. You can't do
I
both.
cannot do that. Well, just let your Filipina listen to Peace video to convince her to sign a prenup.
Yeah, like seriously, people. Like, what's up with that? Like, come on, just have a prenup.
True, because for Filipinas, if you're not after for any financial gain,
exactly.
What's the point of just signing a piece of paper?
Okay, so next, since we were talking about support to our parents, let's talk about the child support here. We have this weird child support system here because unlike in the West, I know, oh my gosh, if you don't pay child support, you're gonna go to jail. I know it's a different thing here. What are the laws for child support? Because I think they're trying to amend it or they're trying to propose another bill, but currently,
Okay, as to specific law providing how much child support should be given, as to specific law providing violation of not giving child support, there's no such law at this moment. There is only a proposed bill, but again, as a bill, we don't know whether it's going to be enacted as a law or there's going to be changes as to what provisions, let's say, as to what amount they're going to be imposing or as to what's the penalty if the support is not provided by the person obliged to provide support to the child. So they're proposing 10%. And if violation occurs, then they're proposing also some imprisonment penalties because right now there's no other laws that has penal provisions for violation of
child support. Okay.
Yeah, for not providing child support.
Okay, but at the moment there's none.
None.
Okay,
it's
so
just a bill and it's nothing concrete yet. I cannot give a timeline whether or not it's going to be passed or whether it's going to be passed in the first place. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so what about if I'm a freaking lazy arse guy that I just wanna spread my seed and impregnate lots of women just like Genghis Khan?
I've come across in a child support case wherein the guy has no financial capacity because he got laid off from his job and the mother is asking for child support, but what the court can only do was to reprimand the father, to tell the father, look for a job because you're just like giving, what they call this oral reprimand to what he should do.
What good is that gonna do?
Exactly, but of course, I understand the judge because there's no legal provision regarding compelling the father who has no capacity to provide support to provide support to the child at that moment because the guy has no employment.
Stop impregnating women and also women. Come on, close your legs. Jesus H.
True.
Yeah, but seriously, it takes two to tango. It's also the lady's fault. Why are you spreading your legs if you can't afford it, if you cannot afford it? I know it's easier said than done because we, especially women here, they kind of daydreaming. This is it. This is my forever. We love each other. Of course, it's gonna
blame
open.
That women.
No, we can't.
We can't blame them.
Yeah, because that's one of the reasons of high teenage pregnancies here. But then again, at the moment, there's no law saying that if you cannot provide child support to your children, if you don't have a job, they cannot oblige you. So basically, they could just be drunks and just be lazy. But that hurt. Okay. And again, this is for both parents, right? Because they have to provide support. This is not only for the fathers, but obviously the mothers.
The law or our civil code does not distinguish between women and the man with respect to child support. Both parents are responsible for child support. So
with the proposed bill at the moment, they're requiring both parents, regardless if it's a man or the mom or the dad, to provide 10% of their earnings to the child, per child, right? This is per child. This is per child.
That's the proposal, okay?
The proposal. This is not a law yet.
Yeah.
What about paternity? Because, oh my goodness, I don't know if this is true. I read somewhere, there's been research, there's been data around the internet saying that in the West, in the US alone, 30% guys are raising children that aren't theirs.
Ooh. Interesting.
Yeah, that's freaking diabolical. Because how unfair? Because you've been raising this kid, you're loving this kid, and yet
all of a sudden
you found out that you learned that it's not even yours. You're raising someone else's seed. Can you imagine for a guy? I can't even imagine. I mean, not only that it's not yours, meaning your wife also freaking, it's like a double.
Cheated on you.
Yeah, cheated on you. It's like a freaking double whammy. It's like,
okay, so in the Philippines, it all depends whether or not you're married. Because if you're not married, she has to prove paternity in court.
If they're not married, the woman has to prove paternity.
But if you are married, there is a conclusive presumption the child born within the marriage is, the child of the other person, or it's your child, it's your legal child, and you'll be obligated to provide support. If you found out later on that the child is not yours, that doesn't erase the fact that you will still be obligated to provide child support. But you have remedy against the woman or against your wife. Your remedy is to file for adultery. Because presence of a child who is not yours, then you have a case for adultery against your wife. But our court cannot penalize the child by not providing. No, that's just very unfair for the child. So that's why the father would still be liable for child support, even if the child is not his.
Inside a marriage.
Inside a valid marriage.
Valid marriage. But you can sue your wife
for adultery, which is a criminal offense and which has a penalty for imprisonment.
That's one thing that they're missing in the West. Yeah. How dare you, woman? How
you put the letter A.
Yeah, like the A.
I forgot that one. There's a letter A.
She can go to jail. Revenge, justice. Okay. Well, at least I like our laws that way. Okay.
When in the Philippines, if it's gonna be mixed couples, it's kind of obvious whether the child is. When the child goes out as very tan and with a flat nose, it's not your child. Joke. I have come across with a client wherein the Filipina, they're not yet married, but they're getting married, and the Filipina claimed that she got pregnant with this man. Ooh. But the man was so adamant whether or not the child is his. Yeah. So I've told him, I've had a consult also with my doctor friends. I told him what my doctor's friend told me, that because he told me when he had sex before he left, right? And
okay, so they count.
My doctor friends counted, the possible, what they call window of conception. Yeah. And they told me it's not possible for.
Oh.
So I told
maybe
my client,
she's Virgin Mary or something.
Told my client, go check with the doctor, or perhaps do a DNA and do not marry before.
Making sure that it's yours.
Marry before the child is born, or before making sure. Unfortunately, we have caused their split. Oh. But then he thanked me so much for that advice. Because it's a good.
Did he give you like a stellar?
No, but he was so sad, and he was to learn that
it wasn't his.
It wasn't his.
You just cost her like her fortune. Like she thought that she could trap the guy because of the baby. Ay, shiz. Okay. Well, for those of you Filipinos watching this video, and if you are a cheating Filipina, you better fear DNA, because DNA never lies. Well, Gracey, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your legal expertise with my viewers out there. I really appreciate it, and I hope we'll see you again soon, very soon.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. All right, well, guys, you know the drill. I'll be back in 3 more days with something fresh. That's it for today. Bye for now.
Bye.
If you think about it, I'm kind of like your nurse, attending to your needs and making sure you get a healthy dose of what's good for you in the form of informational and funny videos. After all, laughter is the best medicine. The only thing I ask for my service is that you hit the thumbs up on this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so I'll know when you need assistance. Please also check out my Patreon page for extra content and exclusive features. And while you're recuperating, why not enjoy some of my other videos too? So, are you ready?